to our session in the Rise of the Morning. I'm Celeste Milber, and I'm just going to we're going to each give a couple of minutes to introduce how we are connected to ego tracing, which really connects a pedagogy of place, arts-based work, ecology. My work is specifically connected to the body. My body is the earth is the body, and I'm very fascinated in those connections where the visible and the invisible meet, and the trace of my skin, the trace of the land, and I create site-specific performances between land and sea. And I'm very excited that we come together as improvisers to see what this land, this place, in this moment is a place of inquiry, what will happen. And we will instruct you through this process in a few minutes after we just say a few words.
Thank you. Similar to Celeste, my site of research is the body, and the body in relation to other and to the land. And I've been thinking since yesterday of listening to all those beautiful presentations around the landscape that lives within our body and the geography of self, and what are the resources that should be in the ground in this body, and what are the unsourced resources, where are the best views, where is the uncharted territory. So I think in that kind of language when I'm playing with my body in relation to my beautiful colleagues and this incredible environment. So thank you.
My work is around inquiry through performance through the arts, remembering as you join us today that this is not a performance that we practice and choreograph, but this is a performance that arises in the moment. And my question is, what is evoked? What surprises, what tugs on the sleeve, what matters? When we ask the question, what if? What if we join together with a cage, newspaper? What happens? So it's not a matter of applause at the end, but for you to engage in thinking about and reflecting on your experience as you witness what happens here. So it's a reciprocity of engagement between those who are watching and those who are in the performance.
My work is connected to a deep inquiry into how we as Indigenous people had developed the culture in relationship to the ecology, that the ecology and the human ecology, the cultural ecology in how I understand it, were this beautiful, elegant sufficiency unto themselves, and that this ability of the human being to be completely and utterly in the school of the teachings of the world, and to be walking that pathway with creation as a part of what we understand as all our relations. And so my inquiry is to, how do we understand that today? How do we walk that path today? How do we understand this profound tradition that art practices were knowledge practices, and that they were ecological practices? So in my playing of the flute, I'm inquiring into how we dialogue with the polyphonic.
So in light of the walking, I'm going to just outline a little bit of the structure of what we will do, that we're going to be walking over towards the library. You'll see our site of performance. And when we arrive, we're going to be doing a kind of tuning process where we become a little bit accustomed to the context and conditions of our site of performance. So you will see us moving in and around the space, exploring texture, surface, temperature, and then slowly we will blur that boundary right into performance, and then we will walk back here.
And we're going to invite you to walk in silence, for you to just be totally awake in with your senses to the smells, the touch of your own souls onto the earth, and just to have a soft focus, and we want a contemplative walk over there. On the way back, we will have you dialogue in response.
if you would, with the person next to you, walk back and just dialogue, share what emerged, what was evoked for you.
Did you hear her? So we'd invite you to, as you walk back, to find another person or two other people and just share what was evoked for you. And then we will go back and we can dialogue in the room and you can get more hot tea.
Thank you for coming out into the
Thank
cold.
you for walking as part of the conference. So we will go back and continue. Thank you.
And it is controllable.
So thank you for being present and for witnessing. And if we may, we're curious to know what images were evoked, what relationships were evoked, what themes, what feelings. So this is the reflection part, which is part of our inquiry. The four of us will certainly debrief our experience and what happened. But we really are curious to know what happened for you.
Lynn, I have so many thoughts. They're spilling all out of me, and I'm going to try not to say everything. There's lots of us here, and I'll start things off. I was struck from the beginning with the giving of and from the earth that Celeste was doing, and the taking of and from the earth that you were doing. And just that huge contrast. I mean, I saw maybe in your face and that sort of thing, the intensity and the anger, even the oppression, and you know, Celeste coming and giving us leaves, and it was fabulous. And then I'd love to talk more about the raven, but I think other people probably should get into the conversation. So. All right, I'll keep going. The moment when your mask fell off, I was talking to Celeste on the way back. In improv, we never know what's going to happen in music as well as in dance and movement. And I don't know if that was planned to be at that moment, but it was like a board upside the head kind of thing moment for me, it just struck me in that place, that time when you have been finally captured, you lost your identity. And I thought, wow, that is so profound. Thank you for that.
And then you also stepped on the mask as your cage fell off too. So
Yes.
in order to escape captivity, you had to further, like, almost shun that identity.
Yeah. And the cage was wrecked
Yeah.
on the way down.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
There was so much about falling, the boards falling off, the cage falling off, the rocks falling from your head,
Yes.
the leaves falling from the trees, falling from your head. There was this cascading sensation that kept going, and then with your music came with these circles of
She
sound.
Sandra's doing a dance.
Yeah. I can't just use words.
Right.
And it was appropriate too, as when the mask fell off, I looked up and then there was two looked like ravens in the trees up there, and then we saw those.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Pretty,
Oh.
just-
We planned that.
And the train rumbling
Yes.
underneath this was
And your
wonderful.
responses to the train. At several points in your movements, like, actually in yours too, I think, there were like these sort of violent responses to the train. They were really beautiful, like just,
It's like the whole world is the orchestra.
yeah.
And I found that very restorative and hopeful. At the end. There was a salvation there for the oppressor. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The oppressor of the person trying to cage the bird in the end was mourning along with them.
It's just such rich, beautiful, deep responses, and it always amazes me because, you know, we did not plan any of those intentions. It's really about just going to a very deep, vulnerable place, alone and together, and with the land and the environment. And you are also, this is a co-creation. I really, I mean, we are all co-creating. And this is what emerges for all of us.
It was fascinating for me because I was behind and you had your backs to me.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, so I'm just one of the crowd. But you had your backs to
And
me.
I noticed that, and it bothered me. And at one point,
Yeah, so I began to the newspaper. But you know, for me, it was like dropping the newspaper is like part of this, part of this.
Well, and then you were walking behind us on the bench, and then you put the cage over my head. But it really was it wasn't a moment that I'm uncomfortable in this performance. It was I'm drawn in totally to this world. I am one of those who is being used. And you know, there's a process of identification there that was huge for me. I'll admit, Vicki, I've never heard anyone play a double flute like that, and I love it. I'm going to start writing music.
You've got plans for your life.
But the moment, you know, that it was such a rich thing for me for the two lines, how the two lines work together, because of course I had been watching these two characters and their relationship, and then you begin to draw those two lines together, and there were unisons, there were dissonances, there were harmonies, and that was just magnificent. Thank you. Yeah, wonderful.
Don't you want that played outside all the time
Totally,
now?
totally.
No, I just want that. I'll talk to you later.
I felt that as I was walking back, everything was more alive. I was brighter, I was more sensitive to every sensation as I walked back.
And you know, Erica, that's to me what actually the body, when we wake up our body in the environment, in the place, we shift our relationship to the ecology of the place, our senses, right?
Like what newspapers are in a bird cage, they're like this sort of acknowledgement that stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you're like just going ahead and precluding that there's going to be some nasty stuff that happens, and like maybe it's because we just got a puppy and we're like house training him right now. But, you know, you like put down newspapers and you're just acknowledging the imperfection and like embracing it and like being present in that and saying like that's okay. And especially in the context of like an improvisational performance where like a train going by could be a distraction, or you know, these various things that could be negatives but they're turned into positives and they're just like a part of the experience.
So I think it's really just to take a moment and just to pause and understand what we're doing. Because in the image, you have a way from your life story and your puppies to kind of go forward and say, oh, I'm going to unlock this meaning. I'm going to read the pattern this way. And meanwhile, the neighbor is looking at it in a different way. And the neighbor unlocks the same images, the same experience in a very profoundly different way. And so the happening is an enactment to which each of us has a key, a decoding mechanism. But if you understand that the natural world was playing into it as well, and when I play the flutes, most often the natural world responds. It's not deaf, so it will respond. And then my understanding of what is happening extends, involves their participation. And that understanding of the teachings that Indigenous people have, that would be an event that would become storied into the landscape, which would be then a part of the imaginative landscape of the people, that would have particular words that came out of the land to give understanding to those. That kind of understanding isn't metaphor. It is the reality, right? And just to go one other step is that Leroy Littlebear, he's a very well-known Indigenous lawyer and one of the people who work in the academy. We would be like one of our elders. And Leroy always says that, you know, we have this point understanding of place, but it's actually a sphere of profound activity. And we read the patterns of that activity, and it teaches us. If we are utterly open to it, it can teach us. But he gives this statement that we have forgotten what really an identity crisis is. And it's when, he says, the identity crisis is when the land no longer knows you. Okay. And we can't read the patterns, so we can't hear her, it. And so we are lost to it. And so I'm just saying that this way of looking and reading and understanding is profoundly important.
Can you remember that statement that you just said? It was so profound. What did you say? The identity crisis is when the land...
An identity crisis is when the land no longer knows you.
That's, I'm gonna go write that down right away.
Can I just say something, because I think we're probably close to
Yeah,
time.
I know.
This elongation of what we've been referring to as the performance is in concert to what you're saying. This is the performance. So the cage on your head, the walk there, the walk back, these reflections that are shared is the performance. And so we are all trying to blur those boundaries so that we actually see the world in that kind of performative lens that makes us
Creation
look
is
different.
performing.
Yeah, so thank you so much
Thank you
for participating.
Yeah, it's a little more risky, so thank you, all of you. Yeah.
Yeah.